What's up, everybody? It's your boy Coach with Team Lift. Man, we've been here at San Japan for the last couple of days, kicking it, having a great time, meeting everybody. Joe Nathan, this one's for you. You were telling us to get this guy on the show. We listened to you. We actually got to run into him by accident, and it was one of the greatest accidents of our life. Ladies and gentlemen, we're bringing you Jon Hughes from Overground Comics.
Hello.
John, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man.
Good deal.
Thanks for talking to me.
Man, no, pleasure. We heard about you from a friend of the show, super fan of the show, saw you at a con, I think in New Mexico, and he begged us to get you on the show. And man, it was just so crazy. We're walking through here the other day. We see you, happiest accident of our life. We're glad to have you on, man.
I'm sneaky, man.
Hey, that's it. We were going to run into each other eventually.
I didn't even book this show. My wife does this show, and I just came with her just to hang out, and they had an empty table, so jumped in.
That's the way to do it, man. I like that. Let's get into this. So, Overground Comics, you got the whole lineup I see of all the posters. How did you get started with starting your own line, man?
Oh, man, I lost my job a while back. I was a retail manager, and I was totally hating my life, and I was doing the wrong thing, and then lost my job after Hurricane Ike, ironically. We just had another storm. Wiped out the neighborhood that my store was in, and we all got laid off, lost jobs, and I'd need to find something else. And I could draw, so I started drawing, putting my stuff on, on eBay and stuff like that. And long story short, somebody discovered what I was doing when I started trying to make my first comics, really believed in it, and helped me fund the operation. And so it was, it was a long series of thing over a few years, but I basically, parlayed the exposure I got with my artwork to be able to do the books, which is what I was really passionate about.
Now, we're looking at the lineup, and we saw Tinker, we saw America, Plus Ultra. Now, this is the one I wanted to get into it because you said something when I met you the other day, and you said, like, one of the things that you're about is character development.
Yeah. The reason we do pretty well at these anime shows is there's a big difference between American comic books and like manga. American comic books are very well produced, high production value, meticulously done, much different people working on it to make sure it's the best they can do. But they're a lot about big crossover events and a lot going on. It's a lot of, like shiny bright lights and entertainment and everything.
Right.
Whereas manga is very simple. A lot of it's just line art, black and white. They don't do a whole lot, to make it pretty, but they tell a good story and they focus on one character and they do that really well. Like one of the best examples of all time is kind of an old one that a lot of newer fans won't know, but Usagi Yojimbo by Stan Sakai. He does everything on that book. Keeps it simple, but it's beautiful because he focuses just on Usagi, and that's his one thing. And over that, with that, he's developed this legendary character that people who have been following the business for decades, that's the first guy that you think of, And with Overground, we wanted to give you that big, American style production, the iconic superhero look, but we wanted to keep that character focus and have that manga-esque type of storytelling, and that's what we did with these books. Is we keep it simple. We focus on, like, you got 6 issues of Plus Ultra here. There's not a villain in a book. It's not like a hero fighting a bad guy kind of thing. It's what people go through on a day-to-day basis, really.
So this really here, what we're learning about in Plus Ultra, is this a team or is this one character?
One character. It's the title character. She goes by Plus Ultra. That's her. And when you meet her, she is a woman who is kind of obsessed with her image, and she wants to be what people want her to be so she can be famous. And what the story is kind of a parable for is how men see women in comics. For a long time, men really saw women as just window dressing. The big image boom of the early 90s kind of wrecked the image of women in comics. It was all just about,
these
sex,
way
basically.
out of proportion chest and just...
Yeah, it was unfortunate, and it was a thing that a lot of guys who were my age, who were like teenagers or 11, 12, 13 in the early 90s, growing up in that comic culture, we kind of accepted that as just the way it is. And so then a bunch of them are now sitting in Artist Alley drawing that same kind of stuff. And that's not really where we want to be as men. We want to, respect everyone, respect a woman like you'd respect a man, And so, when I had this opportunity, I wanted to do something to better the industry. Not necessarily, I can't change it, but I can add one more little good thing to it. And the character of Plus Ultra, what we did was we developed a character who's deeply flawed. She's way too worried about what people think. She worries too much about being popular and all that kind of stuff. Because what we wanted to do is say, we're going to give you a character who's not perfect, and then tell you you should respect her anyway, instead of giving you a perfect character and saying, see, if a woman's perfect, respect her. Of course, that's ridiculous. We should
Right.
respect everybody because nobody's perfect. And so we tell this story where in the beginning she has an embarrassing experience because of the image she portrays herself under, which is meant to make us feel like, how we think of them.
Right.
And then she builds herself into the more modern day practical hero, where you see her as, more, just more streamlined and modern and more of the hero, not the woman,
Okay.
And so it's it's kind of a little bit of a social commentary, a lot of character development, and it's just about what she goes through in that. It's not about her, like I said, beating up a bad guy. It's about her growing as a person, and that, that's a metaphor for us growing as a culture in this comic book industry.
I mean, you're touching on a lot of subjects here. There were almost too many that I wanted to touch on just from that. Because, I mean, we are kind of in an image-obsessed society. I mean, even if we just look at Facebook, social media in general, everybody's worried about their image, man. I like that you're bringing a comic, especially with a woman in the forefront. First of all, before we go any further, thank God this woman has everything clothed, because in comic books, we always talk about, why does she have less clothes than any man in combat? I like that you actually put clothes on her.
Well, I was careful with that. When we first meet her, she's basically in kind of the the classic Wonder Woman cut, and I don't want to tell people how to dress or what, because a lot of women like that, you know. And so when we redesigned her, we still let her show her legs a little bit, and she's got a little window here with some mesh, So we didn't take it all the way from her, because people like feeling confident in themselves. So I didn't want to make her like put on a trench coat or something, or something like that, because she's still the same person. I just wanted her to evolve into thinking more about how the uniform works for her as a hero, not as a celebrity,
Love that idea.
Yeah, and so it's just all about, it's a lot of stuff, man, and I don't mean to act like men don't have it hard, man. Like everybody experiences image issues, I'm worried about being on camera right now because I don't like the way I look, and it's, we all have our things, but what I hope is that men don't just see this as just an indictment on them or a commentary on women. It's everybody, everybody can relate to it, and I hope that's what people see through it.
Now, let's talk about this. Let's say somebody sees this and they say, hey, I got to get my hands on those. Where can they get your stuff now?
Well, there's two different things you can do. Number one, we were a nationally distributed company for the first run of most of our books, and that was for about a year. We've reined back on that because national distribution is very difficult for an independent company. You have to spend a lot of money doing it, and you don't really reach people. You reach stores, And we had an instance, for example, with Plus Ultra, where when this first came up on everybody's radar, it was in the previews catalog that stores order from, and it ended up on this website called Invest Comics, and probably some more that they call speculator websites, where they tell people, hey, this comic book's probably going to be worth money, so go buy it. Well, so unfortunately, stores order it, put it on the shelf, some guy who subscribes to that website goes into the store, takes all of them off the shelf, buys them, thinking that he's going to stockpile them, maybe they'll be worth money. Now nobody gets to buy the book to read it. Then when issue 2 comes out, the speculator doesn't care about issue 2, and the person who sees issue 2 who might want to read it didn't get to read issue 1.
Right.
So when you go to stores, man, so much can go wrong. So if people want to find some of the stuff we've already done, you can find them at some of the biggest online retailers like Midtown Comics, Mile High, Things from Another Planet. All the major retailers still have our books because they bought them in the beginning. But back issues of independent comics, it's hard to find. Stores don't really do that. If they want to find the new stuff we're going to be doing, starting late in the winter, early next year, late this year, early next year, we're going to start doing more Kickstarter campaigns again. Because that allows us to reach the people directly and allow them to dictate what we do instead of stores and, distribution, middlemen, all that kind of stuff. We're just going to go directly to people because, we want to reach the people who want to find us. And it's not necessarily about, trying to build an audience anymore. It's about trying to reach the people who care, and that's what we're going to do.
Awesome. Now, I noticed you got several books here, so I'm seeing right now. Tell us a little something about America. This one looks intriguing. What's going on here?
America is a 4-issue series that is complete. We have all 4 issues done. That was our biggest hit, somewhat because of the talent we put on it. Jason Pearson and Ali Garza, who are both industry-known names, worked on it. Jason Pearson's the guy who did the Deadpool book that the movie was based on.
Right.
And that guy was huge. And I wanted to tell a story that's, again, all these stories are kind of parable, metaphor type, stories. And I'm getting older now, I'm not young, anymore. Like, I'm young, but I'm not young.
I know where you're at.
Like, when I was, 20 years ago, I could jump onto a basketball court and make people feel stupid for not, thinking I could do anything. I'd go dunk on somebody, no problem, right? Like, I could do that. I was very proud of that. I loved being able to do it. I sunk a lot of my identity into being a basketball player. That was important to me. I played the hoop it up every year. That was like a big part of my life. Now, I even think about trying to reach a rim and my back hurts. You know, like I could try to do it, but I'm gonna fall on my face and it's gonna be a disaster. You know,
No, my crossover's gone. Right. I know exactly where you're at.
Yeah, you're like, boom, and the knee's gone. You know?
It's not happening anymore.
And when we think about that as men, we still want to be strong. Like I want to go out in front of my wife and show her that I can do somebody up, no problem. Like I want her to see that in me, but that was me 20 years ago. And the thing is, we as people hold on to things that fade. Men try to hold on to our strength. Women try to hold on to their beauty. Like that's common. You know, that's not me trying to be so stereotypical with everybody.
No, that's
very common. And when we do that, we cause ourselves to get very depressed because we're holding on to things that aren't really important. What's important is who we are as people. And so the story of America touches on that. She's a formerly invincible superhero who has lost her power. And she's so wrapped up in being that invincible superhero that she can't let that identity go. She's still good at what she does. She did it for 10 years. So she's a good crime fighter. She can fight, she can investigate, she can help. She has all this ability, but now if she steps in front of a guy who's twice her size, it's gonna be hard to beat him because she can't take a punch like she used to. And so she still is a marvelous crime fighter. When you first meet her, she's actually jumping out a window, following behind a guy, and she's explaining, hey, you might think this looks crazy that I'm jumping out this window because I'm not invincible anymore. But I know what I'm doing because what I know is he jumped out the window because he has a plan and I'm going to gain on him and I'm going to catch him. And so she's telling you, I can still do this job. But now, even though she gets him in the end, she ends up in the hospital because she's not what she used to be. And so it's, you know, it's a lot about who we are. And when we cling to things that fade, we hurt ourselves, and that's what she goes through. And so,
oh man, I love that already.
Yeah, it's the one book we have that's like not a happy ending book. It's not like a yay everything worked out kind of book, because when you do that, things don't work out for you, and that's what it's about. So
nice.
It's gritty, you know.
Oh, definitely, and it's probably gonna be on my purchase list. Now, if somebody right now, you're saying for the stuff they're gonna be going trying to get it on the Kickstarter, that's in the future. What if we wanted to follow you right now? Do you have like any social media where they can follow what's going on until then?
We do have a website, overgroundcomics.com. That's the best place to go. We do have a Facebook. We added Ale Garza to the roster last year. He is working on our book Ninja Boy. He's basically, the way Overground works is I do all of the foundational Overground universe stuff, and then Ale Garza brought his Ninja Boy universe to us. So they're kind of like, you know, two separate things operating on one umbrella. So when you go into the website or to, you know, the Facebook, you're going to see a lot of that going on right now. Because our, you know, central universe stuff is kind of in a holding pattern right now while we prepare to release the graphic novels and bring out the Kickstarters and everything.
Nice.
And we're letting him kind of do the Ninja Boy thing and promote that while we're doing our thing. So it might be a little confusing if somebody goes on the Facebook page and all that, but if you go on overgroundcomics.com, you'll find everything that you need about us. You can read all the premiere issues for free. All the issue ones we put on there, just read them. That way you can get a good idea before buying. And then they can find out more about us on that. And then after the end of this year, there's going to be a lot more, because what happens is I'm so busy like doing this and then making the books, it's hard for me to go on and control all of that promotional stuff. But once I finish them, it'll be easier to promote them because I can put a finished story in front of people. So once I get all the rest of these books done by the end of the year, we got 2 more Plus Ultra, 1 more Tinker, a few more of Absent Captain. Once all that stuff's finished, then I'll be able to promote more and people will see more activity.
Oh man, this is great. Man, I'm just so glad that we got it. Now, I just noticed you were doing some artwork when we came up. Now you're doing commission work at these things for people.
I will do anything I can to raise money to put myself in a position to be able to keep doing this. So
Man,
it's not my favorite thing. I don't love drawing other people's stuff. I'd rather be sitting here drawing Plus Ultra, America, all that. But this allows me to reach people, and maybe they, you know, take this drawing and they like it, and then maybe they'll buy a comic book, you know.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about, man. We're definitely going to push this on the show. It was my pleasure meeting you, man. You talked about a lot of things that I think people, they're hot button topic issues, and we probably don't always talk about them the way we should. I think I really love this whole thing about how you're putting it front and center. You're putting it out there, and you're really going to discuss those issues, and you're going to make us think through it. So no, pleasure, man. Hey, I 100% support that idea, man. Love it.
Man.
All right, guys, man, look, we can't hold John up. He's got some things. Going to be a little teching in the future here tonight.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to go win that tournament.
All right. I was in a Blaze Blue tournament last night. Don't want to talk about it. Feelings
really?
got hurt. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, see, like we talked about America, man, my thumbs have not slowed down yet.
Yeah,
so,
no,
I'm
man.
gonna go play.
I was holding on to what I had did to the guy that played. I was still living in that identity. I'm American now. I'm not invincible. I found that out quickly in 2 rounds. I'm not invincible anymore.
Understood.
Man, it hurt. Guys, man, thank y'all for tuning into this episode. John, thank you for being a guest on here with us.
Thanks for having me.
No,
again, man.
pleasure,
Appreciate
man. Definitely go check it out, overgroundcomics.com. Guys, get into this. Get on Midtown Comics. Make sure you're buying up these issues. We're talking about supporting the underground and supporting these independent artists that are bringing us great stories. This is a way to do it. John, man, thank you for everything. I'm going to get you the card. Anything comes up, send us an email, and we'll push it on the show for you, brother. You got our guarantee. We're pushing this.
Hey, man, I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem.
Thank
Guys, as we always say, peace.